Gospel.
Joining us on Premier Gospel is Lecrae Devon Moore, and next to him is one of the geniuses of music from America, Ace Harris, but he's not going to speak to us today. He doesn't want to talk to us Londoners, but it's all right. Lecrae, thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely, honored to be here.
It's a joy to have you here in the studio, because about 11 months ago we had you on Zoom.
Yeah.
And to have you in London is real special. And we sent word out, and people sent questions in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And some of these I'm going to put to you.
Sure.
Well, all of them, as many as I can, because these are your fans who want to hear from you.
Yeah.
So let's, actually, before we talk questions, you're in London.
Yes.
It's COVID time. What are you doing here? Why are you here?
I did not realize it was going to be this difficult to get over here in COVID era, but I just, you get stir crazy and you're working I got Ace out here working on music. There's artists and stuff, and it's easier to do stuff in person than, sending music back and forth.
So tell us about that, because I noticed that Reach Records, which is your label, and you have a team of wonderful people. And I have to say, every experience with your artists so far that I've had personally, it's been such a joy. The last one was Tadashi.
Yeah.
He came to the studios in Virginia Beach when we were filming, and he was just such a pleasant man. I mean, he's a big rough-looking fella, but it was so pleasant.
Yeah.
So, God bless you for having a company culture that reflects such gentlemanliness. But Reach Records seems to be reaching outside of America.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Why now?
Yeah. Well, I think, in music in general, international music has been thriving, and I think for us to move, we shouldn't. I put it to you like this: we should not be trailing behind the world as it pertains to reaching the world, and so we want to be on the cusp of everything that's happening. There's so much music that's happening in the Christian space that is not getting highlighted, and so there's music from Latin America, from Afrobeat to Brazil to all types of music from different parts of the world, and we want to be able to highlight those individuals and work with them.
So Reach Records, you did a soundtrack for a film, a Latin film,
Yeah.
And was that the thinking that we want to showcase the Latin culture, or was it the business opportunity that came up and you thought, let's do it?
Yeah, so Blue Miracle, a wonderful story about a group of kids in Mexico who were not afforded an opportunity, and they were orphans, and the individual who ran the orphanage, was teaching them to trust in the Lord, and so it was an opportunity for us to support a great story that really spoke to the Latin community. And of course, we have artists that are signed to Reach Records that are Hispanic, and then we also work with a lot of artists outside of that. And so that was just for us. It was like, hey, of course, let's team up, let's do something, and it made sense and it worked well.
And then the Afrobeat chapter, the remixes and the other bits. We playlisted it here on Premier. What was your attraction to Afrobeat, outside of the fact that it's very popular at the moment with Burna Boy or Wiz or Davido?
Yeah.
What was the attraction for you personally?
I've always loved I love reggae music. I love Afrobeat when I started getting introduced to it. And I'm also 41% Nigerian, so it's in my bloodstream. You know what I mean? But actually, a lot of that influence is due to the man sitting right next to me, Ace Harris, who is Liberian and also a producer, and he makes Afrobeat music, and really brought a lot of that influence and a lot of that flavor to the label.
And you are, like I said, it's going global, and we'll hear more about what you're doing. But let me put some of your fans' questions to you. So, an Emma Alet, I think it's pronounced, from East Tawas, which is in America,
Okay.
says, ask him about prison fellowship. And I thought, ask him what about prison fellowship? Then I realized it was a ministry you were involved with.
Right.
Tell us a bit about how you got into that ministry and what the ministry does.
Yeah, so Prison Fellowship is a ministry that works within the prison system to honestly provide support, encouragement, and work to disciple and train individuals who are incarcerated. And so I love being able to work with marginalized people wherever the toughest areas are, wherever people are forgotten about. I want to be there. And prison is one of those places. And so I've always loved that opportunity just to be able to do that. And I've gotten to go to prisons all over the world. And I'm grateful for Prison Fellowship. They get in some places that I wouldn't been able to get into. And we get to do music and share and learn from them.
So I got this quote from you, which you said, there are people that need love and encouragement that the world kind of forgets about. They've done things that are dishonorable, but God still loves them, so do I.
Yeah.
And that sounds great. It sounds nice and Christian. But when I read it, the first thing I thought was, have you ever had anyone murder someone close to you, or violate someone close to you, or done anything like that? And can you honestly say you looked at them and you said, you know what, I still love you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, I have experienced that. Some very heinous crimes that I don't want to shame anybody. I mean, they committed those crimes, but to both me and family members of mine. And it is a process. It's not like you snap your fingers and it's like, all right, I still love you, I forgive you. It's a process that I've had to work through. And, I'm very grateful for therapy. I'm very grateful for family and support, to realize that, these are people who have done terrible things, but they're not terrible people. And so they shouldn't be defined by what they've done. In the same way, I don't want to be defined by what I've done. Apostle Paul wrote, half of the New Testament, and he was a murderer of Christians prior to that. And so if God gives them that grace, then I want to fight to give that to him. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's something that is worth pursuing.
So for me, the man that assassinated my father, the same week that I would have seen him after having not seen him for 20 years. When they caught him, I got a call saying, we've got him. What do you want us to do? And that's the tough temptation. Whew, that's my tough. Lord. I was sitting in St. Lucia thinking what I would do right now, cut him up and feed him to the hyenas and all that. But God.
Yeah, exactly. It's a supernatural power. You know what I mean? Supernatural.
So let's take another one. Actually, this is an interesting one. Israel Music. That's his name on Instagram. So he was supposed to ask you a question. And this is what he said. He's amazing. Check your DM. I emailed you. I'm like, dude. So I thought, okay, let me check my DM for this. And this guy says he's an artist from Manchester. Can he get radio play and all that? And I thought, oh, that's interesting. How often does Lecrae's inbox get flooded with music? Because you're a label boss, you're always looking for artists. So, and I'm the greatest new rapper around that nobody's ever seen. I mean, forget Kanye and what's the other one's name? The pretty looking boy.
Drake.
I'm the next guy, and I'm God's battle axe right now. Lecrae, you got to sign me.
Yeah.
How often do you get that in your inbox?
So, honestly, I tell people, listen, send me a music video. If you send me a music video, that shows me you have some initiative and some drive and you're trying to really move this thing forward. So if you've taken the initiative, I don't care if you did it on your phone, but did you take that initiative? It shows me you have some drive and some you're a self-starter, because we're not in a business of trying to teach you how to be motivated. We're in the business of taking motivated individuals and helping them grow and blossom.
So interesting you say that, because your business was doing the journey with Columbia Records, and I worked in Columbia for years. Looked after Bob Dylan, Mariah, Maxwell, Fugees.
Massive.
And my boss then used to always say, and it's interesting that you say the same, used to say, when someone comes to us and say, I want to be signed, give them, the first assignment you give them is go and put something on record and bring it back.
Yeah.
And I was like, she said, well, if they're serious, they would go through, and they have discipline, they'll go through that. And it's interesting you said that. So let me jump a little. And one of the artists from the UK, there's a young lady called Sade Ebony, says, who are any British artists that you are a fan of? Oh. But before you answer, I want to play you a song by her.
Okay.
Now, she doesn't know this is about to happen. She was asking about somebody else. I want to play your song by her.
Yeah.
But you have to be honest.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Woo! Okay. So here is Sade Ebony, a UK artist. Here we go.
Life gets tough, but we keep going. And your words always reassuring to my heart whenever I am doubting. But there's a future beyond my mountain. And he says, take off the pressure, take off the weight. Don't be frustrated, I'll lead the way. Take off the pressure, take off the weight. Don't be frustrated, I'll lead the way.
Okay, that's enough. So in my days in the record business, if you couldn't get an idea within the first 30 to 60 seconds, it's not going anywhere. So your thoughts on...
She's fire. Yeah, she sounds amazing. The run, she can really sing. The music sounds good. It's like, I mean, she's definitely... Sounds like it's like, yeah, it's up from here. Wherever she's at, if it's not already up, it's up from here. She sounds amazing.
Well, Sade, you can use that one on your social media now. Lecrae just said you're fire, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so a slight step change. Esther Jenny. Esther Jenny is one of the senior... Guardian newspaper is one of our big newspapers here. It's like the Financial Times, or the New York Times in your country. And Esther Jenny is one of the senior producers of podcast for The Guardian. And she was also one of the big TV producers at the BBC. She has this question for you, Lecrae. How do you keep your cool with all the new angry critics since you started talking about race?
Man, that's a great question. You know what was funny to me is that this is just this season. Like every season I've been doing this, there's been angry critics. Like, oh, you know, when I first started, it was like, you can't rap and wear clothes like that for God, and then you can't have a tattoo, and then you can't work with these, secular artists, and then it's, on and on goes the pattern. And so what I found is that nobody can stop the hand of God. If God's hand is on you, no one can stop it. And so if you feel convicted about what you believe in, do the research, do the study, and pursue what you feel like God has put on your heart. But what I'm pushing for is not like, hey, yeah, let's let's create a race war. What I'm saying is that there are people who are being overlooked, and it's based off of a construct of color, and that's not Jesus. That's not God. So if people are pushing back on me, I have to realize what I've had to tell myself over and over again is that not the Pharisees, but the people who push back on Jesus the most were the religious folks often. Mm-hmm. And so it comes with the territory. You're going to have people who are going to push back.
So, I mean, it's all right for you to say that, Lecrae. You're almost 2 million followers. I think if Lecrae says something crazy, even if he loses 5,000, he's still got 1 million followers.
Yeah.
What and you talk about a confidence in your study, a confidence in your convictions.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, I mean, it's all right. I can have confidence, but I need followers, because if I don't have followers, no one's paying attention.
Hey, listen, when everybody's, when the angry mob is coming at you, just turn around and tell them to follow you. You know what I mean? Like, hey, follow me. Those are your new followers now. You know what I mean? You don't need followers to have a strong conviction and to believe what you think is right. Honestly, like that road is usually pretty narrow. People who are really walking a line of like truly standing for what they think is the right thing to do. And you're right. I mean, I've lost followers though. I've lost plenty things, lost shows, lost gigs, but to me, the risk did not outweigh the reward. It was a hill I was willing to die on. So, can we just stop for a minute and acknowledge that every time you talk, I feel like I'm uneducated because your accent just in my mind sounds that the UK accent makes you feel like, man, what am I doing with my life?
Oh my goodness. My mother would be very proud to hear you say that. She'll say, all the money I spent on education hasn't gone amiss. So, but by the way, you mentioned clothes, Lecrae.
Yeah.
And I have to say, there's a video that you did recently where you look back on your own self.
Oh my gosh!
And you give yourself such a hard time. There's this wonderful shirt with the purple bits on it, and you were so disapproving of. I mean, what was wrong with that shirt? There's still gospel artists wearing that shirt now,
and they shouldn't. And they need to stop it. Okay. The Lord is not pleased with that attire. I'm ashamed of my fashion choices in the past, and I've since repented, and God has changed my heart, and so I'm a new creature. I'm a new creation, and so you got to stay away from trends sometimes. The trends don't last forever. You know what I mean? You just got to keep it classic.
Okay, let's talk about the past a little. Old things are passed away. We're all brand new. But this question is from one of our leading broadcasters here in the UK. BBC One Extra is a massive station. Jeremiah Asamaya is one of their big DJs. Does Friday nights with Jerry. He's a Christian. So Jerry had this question for you. He said, looking at your journey, there's always been a question of you don't mention Jesus as much as you could. Why? And interesting enough, one of the big name artists from your country also had a similar thing that I got from him. He said, the question of you distancing yourself, according to him, from gospel or from Christian artists. Now I know I've seen a video where you've addressed some of these things.
Sure.
But we're in Premier Gospel.
Sure, no problem.
So why are you running away from Christian artists in the name of Jesus, man?
No, that's not the case. I think people have to understand that everyone has different seasons and they're processing, and that's me. I was processing and going through different seasons, and a mentor of mine, pastor, he said, Lecrae, I think you have been in a season of sowing and reaping, and that's great. Sowing seeds into the hearts of individuals and then just reaping. And he said, but I think where you are now, as I'm walking with you, is you're in a season of tilling hard soil. and to till hard soil, you know, it's not as simple as just saying Jesus. It's being more relational. It's meeting them where they are and developing, some relationships with people so that they can understand that you're a whole human being and they can imagine themselves following Jesus because they're looking at the whole of who you are. And so that's just the season that I found myself in. It wasn't like I was trying to run away from the Lord. It was more so of trying to, be strategically relational with people and just connect with them on a surface level. It's almost like sports. It's like, hey, let's just all play football. And so for me, it was like, let's all make music. And as you get to know me, you'll see like, okay, now why this guy is clearly, it's not like people didn't know I was a Christian, but it was them being able to experience my lifestyle and experience what I was about without feeling like I'm just any second now I'm going to punch him in the mouth with Jesus. Jesus. And
so one of the things you mentioned in some of your broadcast, by the way, forgive me, I must get this off my chest. Reverend Moore, how is it that Tupac is your all-time favorite artist up against Luther Vandross? Sir, can I submit to you that your 3 children were, when you were, you weren't playing, weren't playing, Ready to Die or whichever one it was. It's Luther that gets you there.
Right, okay.
So, I don't understand.
How it could be.
How could Tupac be your all-time favorite artist?
You got to remember that, the Luther music is only an hour out of your day. And if you just are an incredible, there's a lot of chemistry, maybe 2 hours, okay, baby? I'm giving you a lot of credit. 2 hours out of your day. The rest of the day requires music. And, so it's like, for me, those 2 hours of Luther were not the same. I can't use them all day long. It just wasn't me. That's so. But really, sincerely, I like Tupac because he was a contradiction, and I think there was like this side of justice and righteousness that he was pursuing, but then this side of like angst and gangsterism that he's pursuing, and I think that's a picture of all of us. Like, we are oftentimes a contradiction, and it's okay to wrestle with that and try to move to a place where you're consistent, but some of us we fall short.
By the way, just for the record, anyone who could do 2 hours, God bless you. Lay hands and pass that anointing on to those who want it. But
hey, you want to talk about it?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I want to play you another song. Now, this, again, I want to hear your thoughts on it. She features a couple of other UK singers.
Okay.
So, if you don't like it, you influenced it.
Oh, man. It's rough.
Here we go. Her name is Nafi Ma.
To empower me, you are my sufficiency. I got all I need at every time. Your grace is enough to empower me. You are my sufficiency. I got all I need at every time. Oh yeah. You control my thinking. Held my hands when I looked at the waves. Was drowning away, I was sinking. Could never be a victim. Yeah. Baby, you will hold me down. Spread your love around. Lord, you're my everything. Your grace is enough to empower me. You are my sufficiency. I got all I need at every time. Your grace is enough to empower me. You are my sufficiency. I got all I need at every time. When you're raising me, I crave your love. I am free. I'm higher than before, leading me higher than before.
Okay, that's enough. That's Nafi Ma, a UK artist.
Nafi Ma.
Nafi Ma, featuring a young lady called Asha Elia and one called SCOK.
It's one of my kids. That's dope. It's just fire. I'm like, where's all this talent in the UK? What's going on? What y'all doing out here, man?
We are doing it.
Yeah.
It's just you Americans. You Americans, you play World Series, and it's only American teams in it.
This is very true. Not for long. A said not for long. All right, I love it.
To that. Okay, so a couple more questions for you, and thank you so much for your time. It's such a joy to have you here. Jameson Dion, who's an artist. He's a UAB graduate, an installation artist, a graphic designer, a sculptor, a painter, an illustrator. The question he had for you, Lecrae, is, can I get a follow back from you? So there's another question from a young gentleman from here. His name is Jake Isaacs. Jake Isaacs is a singer-songwriter. He's a Christian, but his space is the secular space. Elton John was waxing lyrical about Jake Isaac when he came out. It was so bad that Elton John loved him and said, listen, my tour is about to start. I'm going to change the tour to fit Jake Isaacs on.
Wow.
Yeah, so Jake, we love him. And Jake had this question for you. So he's a bit of a star. In terms of his successes, his songs are played on TV shows and, football games, they play songs. And he had this question for you, Lecrae. He said, how do you navigate influence and profile? What do you prioritize?
That's a good question. I think for me, I want to be able to look back on my life and feel as if I wasn't just building my own kingdom, and I think if you're, influencing individuals, what are you influencing them toward? So I push a kingdom agenda, which is shalom, and shalom is bringing peace to folks. Sometimes peace is brought through laughter, it's brought through music, it's brought through, culinary gifts. And, we know that the ultimate peace is brought by transformation of your heart. But on that journey, you can bring people pieces of what the kingdom looks like. The kingdom looks like shalom. It looks like peace. So if I'm bringing peace to people, then to me, that is where my priorities lie, and so that may just be a song about how I don't have a great relationship with my dad, but I'm moving forward. But that helped somebody. It brought them a sense of peace. When we visited prisons and, they told us, hey, you can't mention anything religious, we still were able to bring people peace through art and music. Andy Mineo was there. He just made them laugh because he's kind of goofy. He's funny. But that's a moment that they didn't have. They got to go back to that cell and ponder on the rest of their life. But they had peace in that moment, and it's a picture of the kingdom. And so that's what I would tell Jake is, man, just to continue bringing people peace. The kingdom is about shalom. It's about peace, and hopefully it leads to eternal peace. But you just keep painting that picture. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
And has that always been how you were, or is that changed over time? Because going back to that video of yours where you were watching your own videos, and it was fascinating to watch videos of you with such, it seemed, nervous energy.
Yeah.
And here was the 2021 Lecrae just sitting down, so calm looking. And I'm like, wow, it seemed like two different people. So this position you had, is that always been where you've arrived at that?
No, I think when you're young and youth has an idealistic energy to it. That's great. You need that, but age and experience gives you this sense of what's reality, and you can navigate reality a little bit better. And so when you're youthful and idealistic, you're like, hey, we're gonna change the whole world tomorrow. And then age says, you know what? We may not change the whole world, but we may make it better than it was before we got here. And that's what age and wisdom does. So, yeah. So
we all know you for your successes, and everyone talks about the numbers, and you're one of the few artists who has a successful label, and then you're a venture capitalist. I guess you're invested in innovative software companies and all this. So you're all money, Lecrae, as you rappers will say. Are there any in your journey? Are there any dips or any failures or bad business decisions that hurt you that you could talk about? Because like I said, we're all looking at you and thinking, man, if I could just be Lecrae for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's been plenty. I think right off the bat, I think about, I got an expensive education in technology, and just like, oh, yeah, we can start this kind of tech company. And it's like, no, you should leave that to the professionals. And so it was never profitable. I've started a lot of companies. That's what people don't realize is that, maybe 3 out of 50 things you start will work. I had a management company that didn't work. I had a booking agency that didn't work. I had a touring company that didn't work. And so, but I never looked at them as like failures. I always looked at them as opportunities to learn. And so I didn't harp on them. I was like, all right, well, that didn't work. What will work? What should we do next? And so I think that's more the mindset that I have is we didn't fail, we learned.
So one more person that I want to put their question to you. This young lady, she's a professional professional soccer player, I have to say. Because when I say footballer, you Americans...
I know. Listen, I get it. Okay. I get it.
She's a professional soccer player with one of our professional teams called Millwall Football Club. And her brother is like one of the biggest stars online. He's like 15 million followers on TikTok.
Wow.
3 million followers on Instagram, and she usually pops up. So she sends in a message saying, Lecrae, can I sing on your next track? That's what she asked. Charlotte Lynch wants to know from Lecrae, can she sing on your next track?
If she guarantees that her brother's going to post that song on
Amen
a
to that.
basis, she's got it. It's done. It's done. It's easy. Not
Charlotte, you hear that?
Yeah, it's just, I'll be listening, waiting for your DM, okay? Thank you, Charlotte.
Okay. We're almost done. Thank you so much. I want to play one more track to you. It seems the ladies have taken over. We do have a lot of male artists here in the UK.
Sure.
And actually, I'm going to put to you the question of, since you're here working, you're here with the A&R brains of your organization. For artists who've been praying to God, saying, God, give me an opportunity. How can they get themselves in a place where Reach Records can consider them? But before you answer that, here is a young lady. She's a DJ. Actually, she does a mix for us here on Premier Gospel, but she's known in the circles for parties, etc. She's produced this track featuring who are the people again? Let me play it and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
She wanted to know. Where's her question now? This is DJ Shons. Said, can you please give me some feedback on this song?
Okay.
Here we go.
The one, the only DJ Shon.
Yeah.
Drop the bass. Drop it low. Drop it low.
Right now I'm putting on my armor. I ain't really in all the drama. We don't see no stress, no I'm a no drama. Right now I'm putting on my armor. I ain't really in all the drama. We don't see no stress, no I'm a no drama. God of thunder, fire and rage. Make you see how we go through the pain. Make you see all the days we dey struggle. Make you see how we get it today. If you touch my God, he go strike. My God, he go strike. It no be easy, it can happen any day or the night. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Army, we they go ride with the sword. You know I'm in a battle, that's the war. And you know say that we're fighting for a cause. One go dead, them go scatter.
Okay. There you go. There you go. That's so that features Forever Siege, Ayana, Nathaniel, and Maestro Bravest by DJ Shuns.
Sheesh.
Now, of course, you haven't heard the whole track,
Yeah.
which I'm sure she would have hoped you would have heard the whole thing. But what you've heard, some feedback for her.
Yeah, I heard enough. I think, well, one, it sounds like she knows the right artist to put on her track that really bring it out, which it really, that stood out immediately. It sounded clean. It definitely, the production sounded clean and didn't sound like she was a newbie or like, an amateur. And man, listening to that would make me say, I'll be interested in hearing more. It definitely piqued my interest to say, oh, what else does she do? Because that was, off the top sounded like, oh, she knows what she's doing. So yeah, that would jam. You know what I mean?
Lecrae, it's been such a joy having you in the studio. So a couple of final questions for you. Artists in the UK, artists everywhere. It's fascinating. I listen to artists in Africa, and I speak to a lot of artists in your country, and people are saying the same things in different territories and they think it's better for somebody else. So artists here in the UK are like, I wish I had the opportunity, I wish I had a platform, and here you are talking about global. You're looking for people with conviction in the music, looking for people with great creativity, and you want to give them a platform. How can UK artists who are there, who want to be considered, how can they get to the Reach Records team and get past the junk mail?
That's a really good question. I'm gonna just pass the microphone to Ace Harris.
So they can email Lecrae at
Welcome, Mr. Harris.
Now, honestly, follow me on Instagram. Tap in with me, Ace Harris Music. Follow me. I can forward you to my A&R Dre. We definitely try to listen to everything. I guess I will say this. I do check my DMs. I'm about 50 behind right now, so I got to catch back up. But I do try to. I give about a 5-second listen. If it's good, I explore. But I try to check everything, and just because you never know what's out there. There's always talent that is kind of underground, that's sizzling, and they may have the right credentials. They just may need somebody like us to kind of hear it and amplify it, or even if it's not for the purpose of signing and all that, but just engaging them with resources to help them make their craft better.
Now, Mr. Harris, in the last 5 years, can you name some of the people that you've heard, maybe not that you signed, but you heard that moved you, that made your waters go
man? So first comes to mind is a kid named What Up RG that we signed in 2018. At the time, he didn't have much music out. He was kind of on Rapzilla, and I think he had like one song out. And I think his charisma in the video, Lecrae talked about having a video. He was in a video that he was featured in, and I think the kid was 19, and his charisma in the verse, it just moved me. And there were other artists who had more songs, more music, more traction, but this kid had something special on him. And I think when he gets his new Hollywood album out, everybody will get to attest to that. Number two, I know signed, there's a kid named Hovey that we found in 2018, 2019 on DMs, on Twitter.
You found
So I found him on Twitter and in my DMs. This is when I had just started at Reach. I was definitely more tapped into my DMs because Lecrae and Ben were threatening me to bring in new artists.
in the name of Jesus, of course.
Yeah, it was like a heavenly threat, you know what I'm saying? Just kidding. But I found him on Twitter and just started building with him, and he didn't have much of anything, but his voice, his tone, and his character really bled through, and I was like, he's something special. I think now the name of the game is do as much as you can without the endorsement, and if it's so dope, we can't ignore it, won't be able to.
So, Lecrae, thank you so much. So when you were at the place where you were doing as much as you could, what kept you going for someone who's listening now? Because, like I said before, it's easy for you, Lecrae,
Right.
Grammys, Doves, even though you don't want it,
hilarious.
What kept you going that can someone listening to this can hold on to keep them through the dry season before they get to where they believe they want to be?
Yeah, I think, hope is always fueled with action. right? So you can hope you'll make it to become a professional in sports, but if you don't practice regularly and put in the work and the effort, it's not going to happen. And so I had confidence because I knew I was putting in the work behind the scenes. At least I knew my character was being developed and there was a muscle. I was always going to be ready when the opportunity presented itself. And so I think it's just staying ready. And other thing I would just encourage people to understand is that sometimes, you know, you have to get back to just the joy. I had to get back to just the joy of making music, just the joy of creating something that wasn't there. And even if only a handful of people heard it, it was worth it because I used my gift to create something that wasn't there. I was reflecting the ultimate creator. And I think I want people to begin to do that again. Just create for the love and not because they're expecting their bills to get paid from it or they're going to win some awards from it. And that's what the heartbeat was for me. And, you know, that's where it's gotten back to. I may never win another Grammy ever. Does that mean I stopped making music? Of course not. I still enjoy making music. And before there was an opportunity to win a Grammy, I was making it. And so I'll continue to do it.
What worship songs are you listening to at the moment?
I'm listening to almost everything Maverick City. You know, I love Gyra right now. They are just, right now, they just got me gripped, you know, in terms of music. I haven't been able to stop listening to Maverick City music.
And what are your children listening to?
My kids are listening to the Reach Records Summer 21 playlist. They fight over which song is the best.
Start them off early.
Yeah. It's never my songs either. It's always somebody else. It's always someone else's. That's the you know, the person who they're listening to. So I don't know how to feel about that. But, you know.
Lecrae Devon Moore, forgive me, Morris. How dare he?
That's all right. I've been called worse.
Thank you so much, and you've given us so much time, and it's such a joy to sit here with you and talk with you, knowing the great things you've achieved, and yet you're just so normal, you know. Thank you for joining us at Premiere, and thank you for being here in London.
Pleasure. Appreciate you.
Premier Gospel.